Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Instant Insights podcast, a global data strategic intelligence. We track over 100 tech, industry, ESG, and macro themes impacting all major sectors. I'm your host today, Martina Raveni, and I'm joined by Tommaso De Zan, Associate Director at Access Partnership, a tech advisory and public policy firm. So today the theme will be cybersecurity. I will discuss with Tommaso the recent advancements in AI-powered cybersecurity, and also we'll touch on digital sovereignty. So let's start. In terms of cybersecurity, this theme has quietly become one of the biggest themes in this decade, because it's not just about, as we might think, stopping hackers, but it's about keeping business across all sectors running. And when we think about, for example, last year, there was a big attack to Marks and Spencer, to the Co-op, and this really showed that how even high-profile companies can be humbled really, really fast, and of course with the operational and reputational fallout. But now there is AI. All we know about AI, and also in this area is changing the game, but on both sides. From one side, we have the cybersecurity professionals that they can use it to spot weak signals earlier and respond faster, of course. But on the other hand, there are cyber criminals that can use the same tools to scale up more convincing and sophisticated phishing and automate multi-steps attacks. So it's a really interesting and difficult picture here we have. And meanwhile, we are seeing policy action and with governments setting clearer security rules, especially as AI changes the risk. So thanks for being here, Tommaso. It's lovely to have you here. And my first question for you is very introductory. And can you tell us how your company fits into this cybersecurity scenario I just laid out briefly, and what you work on in cybersecurity policy?
Of course. First of all, hi Martina, thanks for having me. It's a real pleasure being here today. So Access Partnership is an advisory firm that specializes in technology and public policy. We have been around for more than 25 years now, and we serve both public sector and private sector clients. We pride ourselves of providing end-to-end public policy support, from policy analysis to communication and marketing activities. Access Partnership focuses on a wide range of topics, from health to space and AI, but I focus primarily on cybersecurity. And from a regional perspective, I really double down on the EU and the UK. And as you can imagine, we have been incredibly busy in the last period. We have been supporting our clients on a wide range of activities, from legislation monitoring and analysis, but also interacting with key policymakers through self-hosted events to raise awareness. And there are two very big topics. As of now, I would say the two hottest topics are AI and cybersecurity and digital sovereignty.
Indeed. So let's start with the first one today, straight into the deep end. And so AI models in cybersecurity, that's in a way the topic I want to dig further with you. So frontier AI is reshaping how organizations have to think about cyber risk at the moment, because for the readers who still don't know, just to briefly introduce, the frontier models are a new class of highly capable AI systems that can reason across complex tasks, analyze software, identify the vulnerability, and support increasingly sophisticated security workflows. So, and we've been hearing, especially released from this April, Anthropic's Claude Mythos and OpenAI's GPT 5.5 Cyber. Very long names. And these are early examples of this shift I would like to discuss a bit more. So you're a cybersecurity policy expert. So I wanted to ask you, how do frontier AI models like this one change cyber risk, and what does that mean for full vulnerability management and the patching routines in this theme?
Of course. Yeah, so AI is changing everything, right? And things are no different in cybersecurity. So AI in cybersecurity really made the headlines, as you said, when Mythos was released in preview by Anthropic, and because also of other releases afterwards, including GPT 5.5 cyber. So if we want to stick to the main sort of topic, or let's say how the whole topic exploded, so vulnerability discovery and remediation, AI is changing that, and is changing that for multiple reasons. So first of all, what do I mean by vulnerability discovery and remediation? So inherently, software has bugs, so it has flaws in the code. And there are various reasons why this is the case. We are not going to delve into them, but the reality is that software will never be perfect. And I do believe that things are not necessarily going to improve despite AI because of the whole vibe coding wave. There are certainly things that organizations can do to minimize these flaws, such as adopting security by design approaches. But again, the reality is that software will never be perfect. So the problem is that these bugs can be used by malicious actors to hack into system. They can be exploited by hackers. And AI is very much changing the way vulnerability discovery is being performed, because basically it's changing the speed and the pace and the scale at which this is done. So this is actually now done at a pace and scale that no human can match. And this is why at the very beginning, Anthropic and OpenAI were very reluctant to give access to a broader set of organizations, because they really wanted to give this model to trusted organizations, so organizations that would need to review their own code before this is released to a broader set of actors. So when manufacturers find vulnerabilities in their systems and software, they release a patch to release these vulnerabilities. The problem is that patching is not always so easy. There are organizations and systems that are incredibly complex, and they cannot just be fixed immediately. And this is especially true in certain environments, like in operational technology, that rely on systems that have been there for many years, and it would take just a lot of time to patch them. And sometimes you cannot even patch them anymore because they rely on systems that are at the basically end of cycle. And so if you can imagine, this creates a big conundrum, right? On the one hand, you have AI systems that are able to find vulnerabilities at a larger scale and speed. But then on the other hand, you have organizations that cannot patch these vulnerabilities. And so this is a problem, and there are no real solutions to that. Well, we'll talk about the solution afterwards, but it is indeed a conundrum. And even the UK National Cybersecurity Agency has warned organization about the incoming patch wave. But so this is if we want to stick to vulnerability discovery and exploitation. But the reality is that AI is changing everything within cybersecurity. AI is particularly powerful in connecting the dots when it comes to cyber threat intelligence, but and agentic AI can be, for instance, used in orchestration mode when you create swarms of agents to secure the systems of companies. So there is just a lot going on, and this is why the EU has responded to this environment with a new AI and cybersecurity action plan, which was released last week.
Thanks for the overview. It's definitely interesting because, as you said, AI is changing the scenario fast and at the scale we are not used to. So that's very, very important to understand and address. And as you said, the EU is starting to do something. So in terms of organization and of course governments, so what should these companies, organization prioritize, let's say in the next 12 months to prepare for these AI-enabled attacks? And what worries you most about, you mentioned before, potential agentic AI attacks?
Yeah. Some organizations have been very upset about not getting access to Mythos or Daybreak, which is the equivalent OpenAI program. And I get it that some organization might want to have access to the state-of-the-art technology to secure their systems. It's understandable, but at the same time, I don't think organizations should be fixated about getting access to the latest frontier AI model, mainly because there are other solutions that they can adopt. I would encourage all of us and each organization that is interested in this topic to go online to a new website that I recently discovered. It's called the Cyber Gym. So CyberGym is basically a methodology that is developed by the University of Berkeley, which assesses how models and AI agents are performing in a certain security tasks, including vulnerability discovery. And if you go online right now, you will see that actually what tops the chart is not Mythos. It's still an Anthropic model. It's Opus 4.6, which is tweaked with some a layer of cognitive memory. The whole package is called Crystallize. It's been developed by some researchers in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. Here, the bottom line is that there will be more and more capable models, including open weight models, that will be able to do what Mythos is doing as of now. So I don't think companies should get really fixated on Mythos. They shouldn't be spending all their energy in trying to get Mythos or OpenAI GPT 5.5 Cyber. I think what is really important is creating the internal infrastructure to leverage frontier AI models to secure your systems. So it is using what you have at your disposal now, the models that you can use, but more importantly is really creating the internal infrastructure, so the processes, the tools, and the personnel that can really leverage these frontier AI models. Of course, I mean, the threat landscape is changing. Agentic AI security from the sort of, so to speak, the attacker side, it's problematic mainly because these agents are autonomous, and it is hard to predict what they will be doing, and they are incredibly capable. The reality, though, is that cybersecurity fundamentals do not change. And this has been also told many times by now by the UK National Cybersecurity Center. The fundamentals, basic cybersecurity rules are still the same. So what I mean is that despite changes in the threat landscape, things like we used to do even before AI exploded, such as password complexity, multi-factor authentication, or security awareness programs among employees are even more important than ever.
That makes sense. So correct me if I'm wrong, just to sum up. Keep the basics of cybersecurity, ensure you have the right infrastructure to sustain your upgrades, cybersecurity, and the frontier model, and choose the right model. And it's not necessarily needs to be Mythos, because there are other good models out.
That's correct.
Okay, good. And thanks for that. That's very informative. And now I would like to change a bit topic to the other second hot theme, which is digital sovereignty. So digital sovereignty is the ability of a nation or an organization to independently control their own digital infrastructure. And this connects and links to many themes, including cybersecurity, because cybersecurity and cyber attacks is not just a threat to businesses, but governments and national security are increasingly at risk given the growing geopolitical fragmentation that we know, we are aware. And so how does cybersecurity tap into the growing theme of digital sovereignty? And what are governments, from your point of view, doing to protect their most critical infrastructure?
Of course, yeah. So digital sovereignty is another very hot topic in Brussels right now. I'm mentioning Brussels, but I do believe that the theme from a policy perspective will spread over to other regions of the world. So we need to keep tracking this. And in Brussels, it is a particularly important topic for a specific reason, which is the US put forward a tech sovereignty package in June 2026. So the package includes multiple policies and legislation, but I'm going to focus on one, and which is called the Cloud and AI Development Act, or CADA in short. And CADA so within CADA, there is one chapter that is particularly important, is the chapter on the cloud sovereignty framework, basically. And the framework sets out the mechanism and the criteria that public sector entities will use to procure their own cloud services. Now, it is very important to underline that when I mean cloud services, I do not only mean what we would typically think of. So I do not only mean AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. The definition is actually much broader than that. And CADA actually borrows the definition that is from another very famous, actually, cybersecurity law, which is called Network and Information Security 2, so NIS2. And the definition of cloud services there is much broader. So it includes even software as a service. So this is a very consequential law, which will be very important to a wide range of tech companies that really the companies that are already selling to governments or wish to sell to EU governments in the future. And but if we need to go into the details a little bit, so CADA defines for our sovereignty assurance level. So the higher the assurance level, the more stringent the sovereignty requirements, which means that if companies are not able to meet the sovereignty requirements, they might not be able to serve the public sector institutions that need that level of assurance. And if we look at the proposal as it is right now, we can already tell that for companies outside of the EU, getting to assurance level 3 and 4 will be problematic. And so the good news is that CADA is, so to speak, just a proposal as of now, and we're now entering the negotiation phase among the various EU institutions, so the EU Parliament, the Council, and the Commission. We think that the whole legislative process will take between 1.5 and 2 years. So there is time. There is still time. There is a lot of time to monitor this. So I do encourage companies, especially tech companies, to monitor this. But I also strongly recommend them to engage with the policy process and to engage with regulators, to stakeholders. If you have something to say about it, if you think that the law should be edited or should be rectified, go to Brussels and engage with the relevant stakeholders.
Thank you very much, Tommaso. That's really interesting, and we can really see how different themes go hand in hand to each other and intersecate. And I'm sure we need to monitor because it's a fast changing environment. But thanks so much for your insights.
Thanks for having me.
You can find more about our cybersecurity and digital sovereignty reports on our Intelligence Center and in the episode description. Thanks all for listening, and from us in Strategic Intelligence, see you next time.